Howdy, hi, hello. My name's Rambo, and this is my series on how to do it. And today we're going over how to make a Discord server. As a part time content creator, I obviously have my own Discord server where I'm able to post some notifications to my community. And there are a lot of easy things you can notice right away, like the server settings, the creating channels, creating categories, as well as any information for creating events that you want to post, notification settings, etc. Everything is pretty easy to see. My server has come a long way. I've got a lot of different channels, a lot of different categories. I've taken the time to make all of the text really pretty and fit the aesthetic I want it to. But sometimes these things aren't items that everyone knows how to access, and there's a lot of behind the scenes things like having bots involved that not everyone is aware of. So I wanted to take the time to try and go through some of it with you all. The first step to creating a server is to obviously hit that plus button and create your own server. They do have templates, but we're going to start from scratch here today. I'm going to just make my test server a for me and my friends, but if you're making one for your community, do the for a club or community setting. And then you just have to enter in whatever title you want your server to be called. I'm just calling this one test server because this is where I'm going to be showing you guys how to do everything. Once you hit that OK button, it's going to automatically populate two channels, a general text channel and a general voice channel. These are pretty easy. You can rename them later if you want to. You could just delete them. That's completely up to you. There are very easy ways to add more text channels if you want to, and you can choose text or voice. All you have to do is enter in a channel name. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and just generate a memes channel. So I'm going to title it Random Memes. And this is just to show you guys what it means to start a channel. You can make private channels if you want to limit who has access to them, but I'm just going to make an open one. And now that the channel is created, I can go ahead, I can enter in different text. I could use a GIF if I wanted to. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and select the first B little GIF that pops up. And then, as I'm sure everyone has seen in any Discord server, you can go ahead and you can delete the message if you want to, like I'm doing here. Now that we've gone into the basics of creating a channel, we can look into some of the actual settings in the behind the scenes of your server. So by clicking this little arrow up in the top corner, you can go down and you can select your server settings. In the server settings, there are lots and lots of different things that you can go over. There is the ability to add an inactive channel if you want to. This is just so that if you have a voice channel and somebody is no longer active in it, it will automatically move them to somewhere else, and you can select what channel and after how long of inactivity you want them moved. The other things we have here are system messages. This is going to be for things like if somebody joins your server or any updates that are coming out. You can choose to select these or not. I do generally leave the welcome message on as well as the send a message when someone boosts the server, but that is completely up to you which of these you want to check or uncheck. All you have to do is just select the little slide on the side. And then, of course, you do need to make sure you hit that save button. If you forget, it will light up red like it did there for me. The next item is the roles. So you're going to use this to limit what activities different people can do. My personal server has a lot of different roles. We're just going to make one to start here. It's going to be the mods role. You can select different colors, and this will populate what their name looks like in chat if you select certain settings for it. In this case, I'm just making the mods red. You can then go into the permissions, and this is going to be their overall permissions for the server, but you can also limit their permissions for individual channels. Mods generally have more access than regular people, but you can go through and you can read every single one of these different options and decide based on your own personal needs what you do or do not want them to have access to. There are a lot of different things. Audit logs are not something you need to worry about letting other people have access to. It is definitely something just for you, and if you have somebody that is going to be like your partner in what you're doing and creating, you can give them access to the audit logs, but it's definitely something more private. You don't want to give it access to everybody for that. In terms of webhooks or managing the server, that's completely up to your discretion. I don't give my mods access to that. Invites, of course, you want to let them have access to. Nicknames is a personal preference if you want them to have access to that or not. Same with if you want them to be able to kick or ban members. I let them kick and I let them time out, but I don't let them ban. I want to be able to make that decision myself. And then, of course, sending messages, creating threads, doing reactions to different messages. It's all going to be pretty self explanatory items that you can decide yourself if you want somebody to have access to doing that or not. At this point, I've gone through all the options, and last one is your administrator access. Do not grant that to anybody unless you want them to have access to change all of the things that you just did yourself. Once you've completed saving all of those changes, you can then go in and add different members. In this case, I'm the only member in the server right now, so I can just add myself. But once you have more people, you can select who you do or do not want to have that role. You can also go into other roles, such as the already pre-made at everyone role, and you can decide if you want to alter any of the things that they have in there. They do automatically set a lot of the everyone permissions for you already, but again, it's up to your personal discretion what you do or do not want have others that have access to. So if you want to take away or give anything, that's up to you. I always take away the ability to mention at everyone because I don't need them pinging all of the people that are in my server. They can ping individual people if they absolutely need to, but not everyone. The other thing is if you want them to be able to create polls or to create different channels, if you want them to have access to using external sounds or external reactions, it's going to be your personal preference. So just make sure you read all of the little explanations on what all of the different permissions are for and decide yourself what you do or do not want the general public to have access to in your server. Once you are done saving those roles, we can then take a look at the safety setup. This is honestly probably something I should have done first, but you can put any limitations on who has access to your server and how long they have to have had an account to exist before they're allowed to join and speak. It's going to be, again, up to your personal discretion. It's a really big word here, personal discretion, on what you want the limitations and restrictions to be. I would definitely at least set it at a medium because you want their account to exist for more than 5 minutes. But then you can decide if you want it to be a higher standard than that or not. You can also go in and set limitations for your mods in order for somebody to have mod privileges. You want them to be a secure account. You want them to not have the opportunity to get hacked. So you can go in and you can put in the two-factor authentication. If you're someone like myself who is a family friendly community, you can limit the explicit images, and therefore Discord will not allow them to put anything that is explicit into your channels, and you won't have to worry about deleting anything later on. Obviously, there might be a photo or two that slips past this filtering, but it's better safe than sorry to apply something if you're going to try and maintain those standards. And then, of course, if you want activity alerts, you can use that, but I didn't even realize that setting existed until just now. So it is what it is, I guess. I am not going to go through all of these individual server extras with you, but they are pretty self-explanatory. There's different things you can look into, such as who exactly is in your server. You can look into the integrations, the emojis, if you want to add your own custom emojis for them to use in your channels, as well as stickers, the soundboard, if you want to have your own custom sounds, widgets, if you want something popping up on the side. There's just a lot of information to take in, and they Discord servers make sure that they put a lot of explanations for you. So I'm not going to go over all of those individually. When you look at my personal Discord server that I have for my community, I have a lot of pretty headlines for things. I've already gone through and I've sorted all of the different channels. I have my welcome channel where people can be seen. I have a private, notice the little lock there. It's a private channel where I can see if somebody has left my server. I have channels that will describe what me and my community is about, rules of the servers so that it's clearly lined out why people are banned. I have announcement channels for regular announcements as well as when I am going live on Twitch. There's links to all of my different social medias, all of the roles. Everyone can react and choose what roles they want to have at it. Special channels for my moderators, and just lots and lots of different things. So what we're going to look into is making that general chat real quick and showing you guys how to access that server setting. So you can go in and create your own category. I am just going to make kind of a welcome center category here. So we're going to do welcome center as our channel category title. You can move this easily by clicking and dragging, and that green line is where it's moving to. So my welcome center is going to be at the top, front and center, so that we can see it easily. And then you can press the little plus on the side to create your channel inside that category. This is going to be a text channel. And this is going to be where our newcomers or our new friends are going to be going when they first join the server. Now, if they get an invite to a different channel, it may populate to that other channel first, but they're always going to see this first because this is where their name is populating to. you can go in and individually alter the permissions for channels. So in this case, I am going to let everybody view the channel, but nobody can manage it. No one can manage the permissions. No one can put webhooks. They can go ahead and invite their friends, but I don't want them sending messages. I don't want them creating threads or anything of that sort because this is just going to list where all of the people coming into the server are. And if you have any other preferences on if you want people to be able to send messages here and saying, hey, welcome on in, things like that, that's up to you. You're more than welcome to let them do that. I choose not to because I just want to have a list of who exactly is in my server and I want to know when I'm making new friends. Not everybody likes to have this visible though, so if you don't want people knowing who is or is not coming into your server, you could always make this a private channel or just not have it at all. That is completely up to you. So I'm just going through all of the individual permissions here and seeing what I do or do not want people to have access to. Now that I have created that channel, I can go into my server settings, and you may remember there was that greeting area where it will automatically populate those responses of someone joining. So I can go in now and I can change it to be that incoming friends channel rather than the general chat. And then again, you can decide if you want it to have certain prompts or not. It's completely up to you. Make sure you save your settings though. And now we have an incoming friend channel and it'll announce when people join the server. The other thing that we could add in here is a mods only channel. This is definitely something you would want to make a private channel for. So it'll automatically switch to having that locked feature, and you can do both private text and voice channels if you want to. And then it'll automatically ask you what roles you want to have access to this. Now, if you don't want people to be able to see that this channel exists, you can also alter those settings, but it will automatically list on the side who is or not who is not, but who is involved in that channel. In this case, I'm still the only one in the server, so I'm listed for everything at the moment. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is I have all of that pretty font on my server, and you can just type in titles if you want to, but you can also go to a Google browser like I am here, and you can search fun fonts if you want to. A lot of these things that are popping up here are actually websites to download different fonts to use with Microsoft Word. I really like to use the My Fonts when I'm doing things like this because I will download it and type it into my Word document. That way I know exactly which fonts I'm using for which categories. But it's completely up to you. Some of the things you have to pay for, others are free. I almost always stick to the free items. I don't like spending money if I don't have to. But so if we look at the fun fonts for free, you can get things that you can just type into the websites themselves, and then you can copy and paste the font that you want to use. And this is how I get all of the fun fonts for my Discord servers. I just, again, make sure that I keep some type of a document that lists exactly what fonts are used for which categories. That way it's easy to replicate later if I decide I need to add another channel. And you can just go through, you can find a generator, do whatever you feel comfortable with. If you're not comfortable with certain links, you don't have to use it. This is just what I do and how I have made my Discord the way I like it. So now that I have located a font generator, there are lots, and I mean lots of different fonts that you can use. This site here in particular has a lot of different categories. You can get different characters, different symbols. All of these things should show up on the Discord when you're looking at it through the PC. I cannot make the promise that it's going to appear the same when you look at it through a phone, though. Everything changes and becomes a little bit harder to see when you are viewing a Discord server through the smaller screen of a cell phone. So make sure that whatever you decide to make it look like, you're also taking the time to double check on your phone how it looks and making sure that it's appealing on both of them. So I'm just going through here and I'm trying to find some fun fonts to show you guys how to create a special sort of channel with special permissions. I'm thinking in this case, I want a channel where people can vent and rant if they need to without worrying about someone going back later and seeing the messages. So I'm calling the channel Spill the Tea, and I'm just trying to find some cute little way of displaying that title. It took a while for me to find something I like because there are so many different options here. Once I found one, I just copied that text, opened my Discord back up, and then underneath my text channels, I created a text channel, obviously. I pasted that font, and as you can see, it showed up just like it did on the website with the emoji and all. And then once I create that channel, it shows up with that special font off on the side. You can obviously go in and change the title later on if you want to. You can also add channel descriptions. These will appear on the top of the channel after you have exited out of the settings. And so in this case, I'm just writing something on your mind. Feel free to share it here. Now, of course, if you have permissions set so that moderators still have access to read messages even after the history has been deleted, they are going to be able to see this, and that is definitely something you're going to want to disclose to your audience. At least I feel it is something you should disclose to them. Everyone should know who does or does not have access to read their messages at any point in time in case they say something they're going to regret. So I'm just putting that in the description here. Obviously, this Discord server is not actually getting shared with people, so no one's really going to see this, but it's just an idea. You can also age restrict the channel if you want to. You can hide threads after so many days, but this is going to be a secret little server anyway. You can put down slowdowns or cooldown times if you don't want people sending messages every 5 seconds. This is very important if your server gets really big. And then you can go in and you can set certain permissions. In this case, anyone and everyone can view this channel. If you leave the hashed off spaces, it's going to just do whatever their general server permissions are rather than restricting them. In this case, for this channel, I'm going underneath the read message history and I'm turning it to the X, which means no, they cannot read the message history. This means if they are not actively in the channel, they cannot read whatever messages are being said when they click into it later on. So, for instance, I just put hey there. Now, I completely forgot that I'm a moderator and therefore I'm still going to be able to see those messages. But if somebody else with the regular everyone role were to come in here, they wouldn't be able to see that hey there message anymore. I fumbled around for a while trying to remember how to change it so I could view from a different role, and I struggled a lot with it. So I fumbled around for a hot second. I kind of zoomed through that here, that way you didn't have to worry about it though. So yeah, the logic behind this clip that I was trying to make just didn't work. I kept fumbling for a while, as you see here. Eventually, I moved on though, and now I'm showing you how to make a locked voice channel. So you just select voice, you enter in whatever the title you want it to be is. In this case, I'm writing top secret, but I am also going to show you guys how to change that name afterwards. So I'm selecting the private channel and I'm hitting next, selecting who I want to have access to this channel, and then just creating it. And then just like with your categories, you can easily move this around if you wanted to. So I click and drag it, and that green line again is where the channel is being moved to. So now it's up in my welcome center with my mods only channel. And from here, I can go in and I can access the edit channel settings and rename the channel if I want to. Again, you have access to all of the other things, like if you want to limit who has access or if you want a slowdown period. I don't know why you would need a slowdown period for the voice channel, but it's still there. And to rename the channel, all you have to do is just click into the channel name and change it. Save your changes, and you can escape out of it. Just with any other channel, you can edit permissions individually too if you want to restrict certain people from having access to that channel. Now, going back to my personal server, I have a lot of different things. I'm just going to go ahead and click into my server settings for a hot second and show you some of the server settings that I personally have set up right now. So I have my Children of the Dark as my welcome center, and as you can see here, I have the welcome messages and if someone boosts saved in my settings. But then if you go down, there are other things like if someone's boosted your server, you can have certain things pop up on the screen, all of the different roles that I have, and a lot of these roles are through a bot, which I am not going to show you how to set up this time around, but I will definitely be setting up a video later on where I show you why I have so many of these roles set up and how to be able to assign them to people automatically. You can see here in my roles channel that people react to it, and when I click on the reaction, it pops up a message from the bot that I am receiving that role or that role is getting taken away from me. So I don't have to manually assign those roles to people if I don't want to. I can still limit the restrictions for certain channels and make special hidden things that you need a certain role for, but those are through bots. And I have a lot of different bots on my Discord, as you can see here over on the right hand side. The biggest ones that I'm definitely going to take the time in later videos to show everyone how to use are the Me6 bot, which I renamed to Baby Blue, my Botrix bot, which I use for sharing my TikTok feeds anytime I post a new TikTok, Clip Manager, which automatically shares my stream clips to my Discord for people to view if they happen to miss out on the stream, as well as the Uwu bot, which is just a fun little interactive game that people can do in the Discord server if they want to. The Pokemon bot, again, another fun interactive bot, as well as my roll bot, which is actually the YAG bunch of letters type of bot. I'll show you guys that in another video. The Streamcord bot for sharing when I or my friends go live. The Numbers Man, which is a bot that I use to showcase how many current Twitch followers or YouTube subscribers I have at the top of my page and things like that. In our test server, oh, I just have to get rid of this little notification number over here. I hate having the notifications on the side. But in our test server here, I am going to be adding some extra bots in to show you guys the ones that are built into Discord. So I'm just going ahead and I am building a special category for our bots to be able to send messages into. I do have this in my personal server as well, so I'm just calling it the bot channels. And then I'm going in and I am making individual channels for each of the bots. In this case, the Uwu bot's going to get one, the Minecraft bot is going to get one, as well as the Pokemon bot is going to get one. I had to think when I was doing this, so it took me a second to type all of the messages. And then I go back into my server, and you can do this from anyone's server if they have bots listed as participants in their server. You can click on them and you can hit add application, and that is going to ask you if you would like to invite them to a server. So you just hit the add app. It'll ask you if you want to add it to a server and if you want to create commands for them, and then it'll ask you to select which server. I'm adding them to the test server. Make sure you leave these checked off, otherwise they're not going to have the proper permissions to work in your server, and then just go ahead and authorize it. In this case, it did make me put in a multi-factor authentication. As you can see here, these numbers are going to do absolutely nothing for you later, so please don't think that this is me doxing myself. You're not going to have access to enter these numbers later on. Now that I have successfully added the bot to the server, I could go directly to my server, but I'm going to go ahead and add these other bots real quick at the same time. I'm adding the Idle Miner bot, which again is our little Minecraft bot. He gives you just fun games to play in the chat, and I'm adding it to our test server. And then after I authorize this one, I am going to go ahead and just add the Pokemon bot as well. If you don't want these bots added, you don't have to add them, but Discord has a lot of different fun things that you can add in to keep your community entertained and to keep people wanting to interact with each other. Now, you can see down in the bottom corner of the screen that I'm having these notifications pop up, just letting me know that they have entered that test server. You can also see on the left-hand side that there's a little dot next to the TS, which stands for the test server. Now, when I click in here, I can go ahead and I can add those extra channels that I didn't before for the Minecraft bot as well as the Pokemon bot. And when I click on the incoming friends channel, it shows you exactly who has joined. So all three of my bots have successfully joined the server. And the Pokemon or Poke2 bot has automatically sent a basic message to the general chat. Now, if it had permissions properly, it would have tried to send that message into the incoming friends, but because we restricted who can or cannot send messages there, the bot did not send messages there. Instead, it sent it to the general chat. And again, you can go in, you can add special roles to limit them. I completely forgot that we didn't make a bot role at this point, so I tried typing in bots and then realized it. So I had to go back into my server settings and back into the roles, where I then made a custom bot role. Now, if you notice really briefly there when it listed the roles, you can see that there's the Uwu, the Idle Miner, and the Poke2. That's because they each have their own roles automatically, but I like to make a general bots role that I can put all of these bots into at the same time, and that goes for any and all bots that I add into my Discord servers, because then I can just limit that role, and if it ranks higher than their personal roles on this list, then whatever the minimal restrictions are or maximum restrictions are, that's what they're going to follow. So by adding tougher restrictions higher up on the list, it's going to limit how they can interact with certain channels. So I go ahead and I add the bots into here for later use. And then I can go into the text channels and I can edit the category. And I'm doing the category as a whole rather than individual channels because I want to make sure that all of the channels in this category follow the same permissions rule. And I can go in and I can add the bots and I can limit them from being able to send messages here. That way, there isn't spam coming through on these channels. Now, if you don't mind the occasional bot sending a message, that's going to be completely up to you if you want to allow them to have permission here. But I know from firsthand experience that all of these fun game bots that I like to add to my server can get very spammy if you have multiple people chatting, whether it's to the bot or just in general, and they're leveling up their player identification in your server. So I make sure that I limit them from interacting in certain channels and I restrict them because then people can decide themselves to mute certain channels and they don't have to worry about getting all of the notifications anytime a bot sends a message. And then I can go into each of the bots channels and I can select the Ubu bot or I can select the Minecraft bot and I can restrict each of the individual bots. That way, the Uwu bot ends up having its own channel. The Minecraft bot has his own channel. The Poke2 bot has his own channel. And you go through with any role that you want to limit, just like we did before, and you decide what they can or cannot do. In this case, it is the Uwu bot's channel, so I'm going through and letting them do just about anything and everything they need to do. Again, when we first added the bot to the server, we granted them just about any permission that they would need in order to function properly. So if I had left this as the hashed, because this is a different category from that general category that we had earlier, they would be able to do any of these things anyway. But I could go in and I could create the idle miner bot role and I could restrict them from having access to that. And then now I can go in and I can have access to the application commands using the slash, and I can interact with the bot. Here, I was trying to type the slash help to pull up the instructions on how the bot worked, and I wasn't paying attention, and it automatically did the slash hunt instead. And so it started popping up some of the game interactions for the bot, but one of the things you could do is you could put the help instructions and then you could pin it to the server chat if you wanted to. I completely forgot to show you how to pin the messages here, but I do eventually go back in and do the slash help and I click on it this time. That way I can make sure I'm doing the right thing. And here it pops up all the different commands that go along with the little bot. Now, when someone has not used this bot before, it is going to ask them for permissions to access their account, as will the Minecraft and the Poke2 bot. But I've obviously used the Uwu bot before, so it just automatically responded to me. And yeah, so we have a couple of bots in the server. I've shown you guys how to set up the generic channels. I've shown you a little bit about the roles, and you could move these around if you wanted to. You can go in, you can edit them. You can also make it so that they display as a separate listing on the channel. If you had noticed, me and the bots were all listed as the same level of security on the side there. And now that I've selected that little tab there, the bots are listed separately from your people who are online. And you can do this with any and every role you make. So even if you just want to put someone at the top of the list, you could make them a role literally to just be listed at the top of the list. And I have a lot more things to share with you guys. So if you're interested in seeing things later, make sure you tune back in for how to add bots to your server and what those bots can do for you. Until next week, guys, I hope this was semi helpful for the beginners, and I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.